Hello, what is up everyone? Today I'm excited to be filming a video that I have probably been wanting to film since college. For most of you, you know that I work in fashion design, apparel design, whatever you want to call it. And I, especially when I was in school, had to make mood boards a lot. But even when I work on projects nowadays, especially just random projects that I want to plug into my portfolio, I like to have mood boards. They're obviously important for a bunch of different disciplines other than apparel. If you're doing graphic design, architecture, product design, industrial design, whatever, I really feel like it's valuable to have a mood board. For me, it's just kind of the conglomeration of all of the ideas I have for that project, just put into one visual contract, basically, that you can look back to, pull your colors from, pull your design elements from, for the entirety of your project. I think most of you know what a mood board is, but yeah. So with that, I'm going to get into how I make mood boards. Everyone makes mood boards completely differently. I used to make my mood boards in like Photoshop and Illustrator. That's how I was taught in school. I now use Procreate on the iPad. I have a little iPad Pro. This is like the 10.5 inch, I can't remember. And yeah, I prefer it for mood boards, but pretty much a lot of the tips I'm gonna give today will apply to any way in which you make a mood board, even if you're literally like printing and cutting out pictures from magazines or whatever and putting them into a sketchbook. It all kind of applies, but this will mostly be a Procreate-centric tutorial. So anyway, yes. So with that, I'm just gonna kind of go down the list, roughly 6 steps to getting a lovely, lovely mood board, and I'm going to chat about them with you. First things first, you just need to gather everything from all of your different sources. And of course, there's the obvious sources like Pinterest and Instagram and all of that. I absolutely gather from those tools or kind of do sort of like market research, looking at other apparel brands in my instance, seeing what they're up to. And I just have like the Pinterest widget on my laptop, just in Google Chrome. So it's very easy to quickly pull up Instagram on a desktop, pin a bunch of stuff, pin a bunch of things on Pinterest. I like to organize them into sections on Pinterest. I love Pinterest for every aspect of my life, but also don't discount old-fashioned books, especially when I was in school. I loved going to the library at Iowa State and just going into, sometimes I would focus on the apparel section, but then other times I would go look at biology, psychology, bunch of different stuff, bunch of different art, especially when I was studying abroad in Copenhagen, gathering books and things like that about Danish design as it relates to furniture and whatever else. Magazines are super valuable. Textbooks are super valuable. I went to Goodwill when I was in college, or Salvation Army or something. Just basically going to thrift stores and even seeing what books they have there is super, super helpful. I bought this botany textbook when I was in college at like a Salvation Army. I never took a botany class, but I kind of just liked the cover. There's some interesting sort of things about plant structure, foreshadowing, in this textbook, and I used it for a project in college, but I am working on a project right now for my portfolio, and I dug it out again, and it's still super useful. It's also really valuable to pull from places like film, music, poetry, things like that. I bought some like poetry books also when I was in college to reference, because I like having some sort of handwritten verbiage on most of my mood boards, just something to kind of evoke the feeling, the tone of the project. Films you can watch, take screenshots of on your computer, find really great imagery there. Just basically don't feel like in this like whatever super digital age that we live in that you can only use Instagram as a source of inspiration. That's obviously not the case. And also go walk in a museum, take pictures in a museum, of course, when they're open. I think a lot of the New York City museums are letting you do digital tours and stuff like that. So actually, low-key, a really, really great time to gather inspiration for mood boards, design projects, etc. So getting into step number 2 and why I drag my laptop out, it's time to connect the dots. So for me, like I mentioned, I build a Pinterest board for every project. I organize it into sections. Basically, I leave one bucket that's kind of going to be my key mood imageries. These are going to be the images that I pull from all the other sections to eventually combine into my mood board. But as you can see here, I have a tab called General Mood, and these are just some apparel, or it could be literal like plant diagrams. I also pull out garments. Sometimes this is useful for the mood board, sometimes it isn't. I also have I have a section for color. So these are just some key colors that I've pulled out. Graphics, I think I might do some like graphic tees or hoodies or something for this project. I'm not really sure yet. And then a little bit of verbiage, low-key funny. It took me a long time to come up with the name for this project. This is a project I've kind of been stewing on for a couple of months. And I finally came up with the name Plant Structure just as I was reading this botany book. But then it really made me think of like the Owl City song Plant Life, and low-key I feel like the verbiage that I'm going to use on my mood board is from that song. I don't know, maybe I'll do something more tasteful than that, but sometimes I just don't like to make my mood board so serious. I don't think it's that important. Everyone's different. Might not seem intuitive, but I feel like you should have a color palette always alongside your mood board. Whether they're on the same page of the project or not is up to you, but I think this is the time to, again, create that sort of visual contract for your project. You have all of these images pulled, you might as well go ahead and start just seeing some patterns, seeing some themes as it relates to color. As I am, for example, going through general mood, if I come across anything where I'm like, oh, that's nice for color, I might save it again in the color section so I can create my color palette on Procreate. You can create your color palette in Illustrator, Photoshop, whatever. It all is pretty much the same functionality. Okay, step 4, let's get into it. Let's pick our key imagery that's going to go on this mood board. This is a daunting task and it can change, of course. But let's hop into general mood. For me, some elements that are always important to keep in mind when I'm picking my key imagery, I don't want every single picture to be of apparel, to be of a face, like a person. Sometimes that's a bit much. I think it's important to have some of that, but if you start getting too many eyes on a page, you can get a little creepy. But I really like this dude from Mad Happy. I think he's got a cool vibe. Love the hair, just love the energy, and love that we can sort of create like a unisex brand here. So I'm gonna click save, but I'm going to then save that as well to my key mood. I like this Mass Norgo. Is that how you say it? It's been a while since I've been in Copenhagen. Okay, so I never want that many pictures on my mood board. Let me just pop into color here just to see, do I have anything else floating around that I could be into? I actually kind of like these hands. Orenda Tribe is such a fantastic brand, indigenous owned, women owned. I feel like I need a little bit more brightness because this is actually, there's going to be some like neon elements, I'm pretty sure, in this project. Okay, so we've got our gang, our board, but we'll see. We might not need all of them. Getting into step number 5. Sometimes it's fun to have some supplementary sort of sketches if you have any initial ideas where you're like, oh, I'm for sure going to design this dress, this toaster, this whatever, but I'm not so sure yet if I'm gonna do that. I did it for this mood board here. As you can see, there's like a little dress in there that I did for my senior line when I was in college, and yeah, sometimes it fits in. I don't know. I don't have any like ideas yet. But with that, we're on to step number 6 already, which is to combine everything. All right, guys, here we are in Procreate. This is my little homepage. Can't scroll too much. Some of this is for my job. Today, we are going to create this mood board. So for me, I usually use 1920 by 1080. I just like the kind of widescreen effect, and I wanted to film in this way for you guys versus just doing a screen recording, so you can see all the gestures and things. I think that'll be more beneficial. But anyway, we're going to go up to this little wrench looking tool, insert a photo, and we're going to just start dropping in each of these photos. It's a bit tedious, but it's what we got to do. All right, last photo, our favorite boy, Love him. Something else to be aware of, unlike Illustrator, as you're dropping these things in, this is not like an artboard. You don't want to drag them off, because if you do, it will automatically crop them, and that's no bueno. So they'll all drop in, each as their own layer, which is nice, but just don't drag them off of the space. A few of these I am not going to have as full rectangular images. I'm just going to deselect those check mark boxes, and we're gonna focus on one to start. So we've got this little rainbow vase full situation. Make sure I have that layer selected. I'm going to go up to this S tool, which is the select tool. Obviously you've got a bunch of different options here, similar to any Adobe program, although this is not an Adobe program. But anyway, we're going to select freehand, which is when you can just draw around an item. I like to do these very DIY sort of looking cutouts where you have, you know, a bit of space around the object. The nice thing about this tool also, you can pick up your pen or whatever, Apple Pencil is what I'm using, and just continue the line. So seamless, so lovely. And we're just gonna cut this guy out, et voila. And before I undo anything here, before I leave this selection tool, I'm going to hit duplicate, and like magic, it's created a new layer, and there's our little item. That is one of the things for certain that I want to be its own item. Not sure where we're gonna have it yet. For me, I don't need the rectangular version, so I'm just going to pull to the left and hit delete. For this guy, I knew these little eyeshadowy looking things was all I wanted out of this picture. So I'm going to actually hit that arrow tool, select uniform. It's kind of like holding shift. And then we're going to go into our selection tool, freehand, and we're gonna cut out these little dudes. Gonna hit duplicate, and I did a bit of a messy job, so I'm just going to hit my eraser tool. I really love using the brush pen. It's from the calligraphy section, but I've added it to my favorites. I'm just going to clean up a little bit over here, but ultimately I still want it to be a little bit scraggly. So yeah, I'm probably gonna have that over here somewhere, just because I want to mirror this edge that's happening. What else? Who else is getting cut out? Not this guy, my fave. Hello, sir. I am going to, actually, do I want to cut him out? Maybe I do. Here, let's try it. So this is nice because since I'm uncertain here, I can flip back and forth between him being cut out and not cut out. I also definitely want to cut out these little flowers and use them as each as their own individual element in this board. Duplicate, and we've got one there. Gonna go back to the original image before hitting selection again. Okay, awesome. I'm still gonna keep the original rectangular version of that too. I like having them in their own layers so I can move them around throughout this piece. But honestly, I think that's all I want in terms of cutouts. It's, you don't want to overdo it. You don't want, at least for me, I don't want all sort of square rectangular images and all sort of cutouts. I want a mix. That's just my style. Some people's mood boards are literally just grids of images. That's totally fine, but for me, this is what I prefer. So there's a few that, although I'm not going to do cutouts, I do want to crop them, like this guy. So this one from Orenda Tribe, I'm going to hit the select, hit rectangle, and this is how I'm going to crop this image. I just want it to be a little bit more of a square, a little bit more focused. Okay, I'm just gonna hit duplicate. Yeah, just a little bit more focus on the hands. And then same with this mask person. I'm going to select, and I only want this part. Duplicate, definitely don't need the other version. And now I'm going to start seeing the whole gang. What do we all got here? Lots of fun goodies. Those little eyeshadows are quite complicated. And I'm going to drag them to the top. I'm going to grab something that doesn't have quite so much texture on it, which is that little hat. And I'm gonna pull this greenhouse pick out of the way. And instead, we're gonna have that be kind of chilling out under that a little bit. We're gonna take our little plant friend here. Do I even like this picture anymore? I don't even think I like this picture anymore. I'm gonna delete it. We're gonna do these hands, perhaps. I feel like a running theme I have also with a lot of the mood boards that I do is across from each other, I always have some sort of cutout element. I kind of want them to usually remain equal. This creates sort of like framing for the board without really having any sort of actual border. It's more of just an implied border. I'm just trying to figure out what to do with this little weird dude. Is it strange that it's sitting on his shoulder? It seems strange. But I like it. Where do I put it? I feel like in order to not have this sculpture be like falling almost on his head, I'm going to have these two guys kind of tag team the implied framing, and I think that's fine. Also notice here, I kind of attempt to keep these borders, or this white space rather, between these images a little bit even, since these are our only rectangular and square images. Let's select all of these and bring them to the top, all of our little flower elements, and just figure out cute places to put them. Okay, just a subtle little something. I've never really done anything like that before necessarily in a board. I think I might try to pull out a little color palette. So here's typically what I'll do if I just want a very quick color palette to be featured. So I'm going to go up to this little color circle. I'm going to create a new palette. We're gonna, of course, call it Plant Structure. And I'm just going to start pulling out some key colors here. I really like this super lime green, and I'm just going to tap and it'll fill it in. Okay, so I'm not going to use all of these colors. Like for instance, I'm kind of already over this purple, so I'm going to delete it. These, or this blue, I don't really need. All right, I think I'm decently happy with that. So what I'm gonna do is super simple. I'm literally just going to take a screenshot. However, you need to do that on your iPad. Crop. And it won't let me crop all the way in here, but at least part of the way is good. Yeah, that's like as short as it'll let me go for now. So I'm gonna say done, save to photos, and then here we are. I'm going to insert a photo, and we're gonna insert that color palette. I think it's gonna hang out up here. And I'm just going to, of course, select rectangle, duplicate, and delete. Easy, look at that. And I just think sometimes having the color palette right on the board is fun. I don't always do it, but sometimes I like it. I think this is looking fun, very colorful, eclectic. That's kind of the vibe we're going for, or at least I'm going for. So now I'm going to be funny, or at least I think I'm funny. And I'm going to look at those Owl City song lyrics, and I'm going to basically pull whatever color from our palette. I always just kind of hover over it to grab it quickly. And I think the line that always comes up for me is, and I wish plant life would grow all around me so I won't feel dead anymore. I just think it's kind of, I mean, it's not that funny of a line, but I think maybe it could be cool here. So I'm creating a new layer, and I'm going to go to the streaks brush. This is also can be found in calligraphy, just in the brushes that come with it, but again, one of my faves. So I'm going to write with that, I think. Okay, so I typically just try to do some sort of slanty script, and I can just like move this wherever I need to. Don't feel like you have to be confined to it being horizontal. You can totally mix it up, have it going like here. That could be kind of fun. And then sometimes we'll create another layer, maybe just add some little zhuzhes, you know. There's quite a lot going on this board though, so I'm not sure. Maybe if I add some sort of element that's kind of like weaving through each of these, for instance, like that. So it's kind of like behind the color palette, behind the eyeshadows, in front of these. So if I'm kind of like, you know, I've got some elements placed, some text placed, but I'm thinking, do I even like this color? Here's what I will do. I have my text selected right now. I'm going to add another layer. I'm going to just like gently tap on it so that I can get this menu to appear. I'm going to hit clipping mask, and then I'm just going to pick a different color just to see if I'm into it. So I, just for what's worth, hit the little palette button. I hit this sort of chartreuse color. I'm going to tap this layer, fill. You can't really read it over his shirt, so that's no bueno. Let me see if I like the blue better. That's something. So I kind of like the chartreuse for those lines. I feel like it doesn't make them pop as much. I did use blue text on my last project though, so I'm like not sure if I want to do that again. I'm kind of into the green. I think it just makes more sense with this being focused on plants. It's a bit chaotic, but I don't really hate it necessarily. I might move this down even further. Oops, I grabbed the wrong one. Yeah, I think dragging it to the back helped. Yeah, so let me finalize this, show you how it would look like all complete, and we'll wrap this video up. So I'm going to basically turn off that white background on here. I'm going to go up to that toolbar, share this as a PNG, a transparent PNG now. And she dropped in. If you guys need further clarification on that, do not hesitate to ask. There's no such thing as a stupid question, but I just am doing that real quick here. And as you can see, I have a different project pulled up. This is just some other random project that I am working on for my portfolio, but I just want to show you what it looks like when I lay out a mood board. I have a little bit of a texture on the background here, a little bit of a watercolor texture. You can maybe not even see it in this video, but I'm going to open up my downloads and just drop this in just to show you what it kind of starts to look like. I'm going to, and this is an InDesign by the way, I'm going to double click or right click, fitting, we're going to center our content, and that's basically how it would look. And you know, the top instead would say plant structure, this would say something else, but I'm not about to change all of that for the sake of this video. I hope you can see that okay. That's basically what it looks like when I lay out a mood board for a portfolio project. So yeah, this is how I make a mood board in Procreate. Again, you can do all of this same stuff in Photoshop or Illustrator even. That is what I like to do. Woo! Hopefully that's not too long of a video for y'all. But yeah, I love mood boards. I think they're so important to the design process, and I'm glad that I could finally film this video for you guys. So let me know if you guys have any other questions. Do not hesitate to ask any question. I'm all about learning and just furthering your learning and asking questions. So yeah, that's all I have to say for now though. So thank you all so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.